Started. Good morning and welcome to Furloughed with Vegan Pete, episode 3. I am Vegan Pete and I'm glad you're here with me. If you were here for episode 1 or 2, welcome back. Glad to have you. It's only been a couple days so far, but I've really enjoyed having this little time with you guys. I really like everyone being a part of it. I really like the social interaction, and that is the whole point of this thing. A lot of us are stuck at home, so we could use a little bit of time together, share a laugh, talk about some stories that are going on right now. And I want to make sure everyone doesn't forget you are a very important part of this show. I'm looking for some social interaction as well, not just me talking. Some of me, some of you. Put your thoughts in the Twitch chat, or if something really strikes you, call in via Discord. Once you hop in the Discord, jump in that on deck channel and I'll bring you live on air. And if you have something you think adds to the show, call in with that too. It doesn't have to be one of the stories that I'm talking about. I tried to find some good stories. If they're not striking your chord, call in with your own story. And hey, Razé, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. But I do think I have some good stories for us to discuss today. Let's start with a little good news from a company that we know and a lot of us probably love. A lot of us probably have their console, and that is Sony. Sony has announced that they've established the Sony Global Relief Fund for COVID-19, and it's starting it off with $100 million. And through this fund, Sony will provide support in 3 areas: assistance for those individuals engaged in frontline medical and first responder efforts to fight the virus, support for children and educators who must now work remotely, and support for members of the creative community in the entertainment industry, which has been greatly impacted by the spread of the virus. So that is very cool. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Sony can come up with for the children and educators part. I think they have a lot of technology that's really going to help with learning online and help out teachers and their students. The press release goes on to detail more about how Sony will be helping in each of those areas going forward. So I'll have a link to that. I've been posting the outline that I've made for the show in the Furloughed with Vegan Pete section of the Discord, and as well a link when I post it on YouTube. So if you ever want to go and look up the articles that I've been reading for all of these topics that we're talking about, you can click on that and you can see the whole outline with links to all the articles. So I'll have this press release in there as well. Press release goes on to detail more about how Sony will be helping in each of those areas. Going forward, Sony will work together with its partners and stakeholders to explore ways to further extend these initiatives. So good on Sony for this. It's always good to see companies giving back like this. We've got a lot of time on our hands nowadays, so I urge everyone to pay attention to stories like this that you might hear. Make a note on a piece of paper, but take a note mentally about any companies that are giving back and trying to help during this. We should want to support the companies that are doing good, and for the companies that aren't giving back, that aren't treating their employees well, in the future, we need to stop giving them our money. So start paying attention to what companies you see out there that are either helping or not helping, and make your decisions going forward based on some of the stories you see coming out. And welcome Kooky Persona and Disco Cub. Good to have you guys. Thank you so much for joining us all here for a little social interaction today. All right, so Sony's doing some good. Something that isn't doing good, of course, are a lot of industries right now. And one that we haven't talked about so far is the comics industry. The number one player in the game regarding distribution of comics is Diamond. So they are hurting. If they are hurting, then the whole industry is going to be disrupted. Kooky says, oh, definitely agree. Pay attention to who are taking care of their employees and businesses. I couldn't agree enough. Thank you, Kooky. Diamond has announced that they will be withholding payments due to cash flow problems. And this is a pretty common problem right now. Their customers aren't able to make payments, so they aren't able to pay their vendors, which are the comic publishers. This was pretty much the situation that the business I worked at was in. 95% of our customer base would have 30-day terms. So they would pay after they get paid by some of their customers, so they had 30 days to pay us. But if their customers are unable to pay or their business dries up, they're going to hold on to the cash they have to try to survive. And you can't really blame them for that. So our customers would stop paying us, and in turn, we had to stop paying some of our vendors. Pretty much the same situation that Diamond is in right now. So the problem with this, obviously the problem with this was caused by COVID-19. Comic shops aren't essential businesses, so they are closed. No sales for comic shops mean no money for Diamond. No money for Diamond means no money for publishers, i.e. Marvel, DC, Image. No money for publishers means they can't pay their staff to make comics. So we're probably going to, even when everything boots back up, we're probably going to see quite a delay in new issues of comic books. And some publishers are accepting returns, which helps out the comic stores, but doesn't help themselves or Diamond. So this could end up being a pretty big shakeup in the comic world, depending on if Diamond is able to survive. Since the 90s, Diamond has pretty much had a monopoly on the comic book distribution. Marvel tried once in the 90s and ended up going bankrupt before, obviously, Marvel is what it is today. But if Diamond isn't able to survive, then there's going to be an opportunity for other companies to step in and fill the void. It could also mean that there might be a push towards more digital distribution to try to avoid a situation like this again. But I have tried reading comics on a tablet, and I just don't like it as much. So when your local comic book store does reopen, make sure you go and get the comics that you've been missing out on, because there's like a little bit of a backlog. They have some new releases that they can't ship right now, and then after that, there's going to be a delay in new issues, most likely. And Broly says some places are going digital, you've heard. Yeah, I've heard some are going digital, and some have even canceled their digital releases because they just can't afford to pay the staff right now to make them. So it's a mixed bag right now. In a lot of industries out there, there's going to be a lot of companies that don't quite come back from this. And, it sucks people losing their job, but hopefully another business starts up in the same area and you're able to get a job doing that as well. Miyako says it kind of does suck, but I'm too used to reading digital. Plus, I read Japanese mangas, and they did a really good job going digital. Well, that's good to hear. I don't know. I don't like holding the tablet. I like being able to flip. Just a personal thing. Broly also prefers physical to digital. And Chili Pepper says, by the way, seems the Sonic movie is now out in digital in North America. So if you've been itching to watch that Sonic movie, check out all of the streaming services, see where it is. Spooky Persona's right there with us. I rather smell the pages and have the physical pages to turn. And Viz is such a good service for manga. All right, any manga fans out there, check out Viz. And the first episode that we did of this show, we talked a little bit about content creation. And I'd like to know what people are doing if you're stuck at home with more time on your hands. Call in or shoot me a DM sometime if you're finally starting a project that you had been wanting to do, or if you're putting more effort into what you've been working on, or maybe a different facet of what you've been doing. Like if you're streaming, are you making highlights of the streams for YouTube now? So are you creating different kinds of content for what you've already been doing? Are you focusing more on social media? Let me know what you're working on. Rosé says, kind of wish I had the time, but I'm still working. Well, that's what we're here for. Whether you are out of a job with free time or whether you're at home and you just want a little more social interaction, if you're missing that social interaction that you had at work because you're working at home now, that's what we're here for. So I do think a lot of people are thinking about content creation right now, whether you've never made some before and you've just thought about it, or whether you are a veteran and now you're thinking of different avenues to go down to try to extend your reach. Even LeBron James, King James, is looking forward to doing some content creation. He tweeted out, thinking about maybe sitting down and breaking down some of my most memorable games and moments in my career. maybe IG Live, or just film it and hold on to it for another time. So even athletes are looking for something to do as well. There's only so much training they can do at home. So LeBron James, at least, is looking to get some of his tape and break it all down for you. So I think that's pretty cool, especially for the hardcore basketball fans. I'm more of a casual basketball fan, to be honest. But I'm sure that everyone who really follows the NBA would love something like that. LeBron James just going over some of the highlights of his career. That would be a lot of fun. Mocha Jones says, ramping up fundraising with mine. Definitely, Mocha Jones does do a lot of Extra Life fundraising, so cool to see that. And Rose, I agree. I like how creative people are being right now. It's great to see. And I'm especially interested in what people who haven't been creating start creating. I think some of that is the best. Even Sean Payton, head coach of the New Orleans Saints, and person who tested positive and survived COVID-19. Even he was tweeting out content earlier this week. He was sharing some plays he's drawn up through the years and the meaning behind all the terminology of the plays, because who wouldn't want to know the story behind the gun empty, right, Quizno, 52, all go special, X shallow cross play, right? Who doesn't want to know the meaning behind all those words? Why is Quizno in there? He really likes Quiznos? What's going on? So, if you want to get some content, if you want to learn a little bit about some NFL plays, go follow Sean Payton. That's your order at Subway? So you say you want the Quizno 52 at Subway. Chili Pepper knows some of those words, huh? All those names that they've been shouting out that you hear when you're watching a football game. Right, Quizno, Omaha. You want to know what all those mean? You can go to Sean Payton's Twitter. He might be tweeting out something that you've been interested in. So, a lot of people are loving stuff like that. Not only are people itching to make new content, people are craving new content. So, if you're on the wall or on the fence about making something, just do it. It's all about getting that practice in as well. I think doing this little show is going to help me immensely when I do my Final Fantasy XIV podcast, continue doing my Final Fantasy XIV podcast. I'm getting so much more practice just talking, which is my biggest flaw, and it's a bad flaw to have as a podcaster. So I'm still working on that. 200 some episodes in of the Final Fantasy XIV podcast. I still am a big flubber. So we had some sports stars creating content. Unfortunately, the sports world has suffered another cancellation of a tournament. I think someone in chat mentioned it yesterday, but I've gotten a chance to read an article and confirm another big sporting event has been canceled. This time it is the major tennis tournament, Wimbledon. This marks the first time since World War II, 1945, that Wimbledon has been canceled. It's actually the very first time that it has been canceled during peacetime. So it was due to take place at June 29th to July 12th. So if you are holding out hopes for events to come back before that, I think you're going to be disappointed. And I was a little bit disappointed too, because that made me realize that even though Comic-Con is scheduled for July, which seemed like a long ways back when we were talking about COVID in January and February, but now it seems like that's most likely going to get canceled, even though they still say they hold out hope. Hope is good, but we got to face reality at the same time. So I am betting on Comic-Con most likely being canceled. But hey, that happens. I'll have a few $100s being returned to my pocket. I know, Kooky, San Diego Comic-Con. Good on San Diego for at least opening up the convention center right now. It is housing homeless right now, trying to prevent the spread of COVID-19 through the homeless population. So I'd much rather them make sure everyone is taken care of than try to squeeze in a San Diego Comic-Con. That event is massive. 300,000 people come into town for San Diego Comic-Con. It's absolutely massive. And I just don't think July is far enough down the road to be able to have that many people in a close situation. Yeah, everything does seem like it's going to be canceled. Hopefully, FanFest is far enough off in the year. I think that's November. So holding out hope. Got the fingers crossed that FanFest for Final Fantasy XIV will not be canceled. I think TwitchCon is in October, I think that was. Not sure. But TwitchCon is in San Diego again. So hopefully that's far enough down the road. Hopefully everyone who wants to go to these events really is paying attention to what we should be doing right now, because we should be inside, only going out to buy groceries, get a little walk in. You shouldn't be going to any restaurants and bars, sitting down, chatting with people. Stay a good distance away from each other, because the more we do that now, the sooner we'll be able to get back going to these type of events. So if you want to go to Comic Cons, if you want to go to Twitch Cons, Dragon Con, WonderCon, whatever con that's coming up that you really love, make sure everyone is staying home and staying safe. As I says, I have a cousin that's supposed to be getting married in June in San Diego. I have heard multiple people who have had to cancel their weddings. So hopefully everyone just starts really being safe, start really hunkering down. The sooner we all do that, the sooner we can get back to normal. Talon's hoping he can make the London Fan Fest, if not the US one. I think the London one is in February, so that one hopefully is a little more safe from everything. Though I know UK is going through it right now as well, just like the US is. So, we had a facepalm story yesterday. I have another facepalm story today. This one comes from Kentucky. The judges in Kentucky have had to resort to ordering people that have tested positive for COVID-19 to wear ankle bracelets because they are refusing to stay home and stay inside. They are breaking their quarantine. So, to be crystal clear, the facepalm is from the dopes that are infected and refusing to stay home, not for the judges ordering these geniuses to wear ankle monitors so the police can keep track of these morons. How dumb can you be? I guess some people still believe this is a hoax. I don't understand how anyone could want to go outside after you've already tested positive for the virus. Like, you just think it doesn't affect people, or you've already got it, so you're good. You're going to end up killing someone. You might end up killing a family member of yours, or one of your best friends' family members. Do you really want that on your conscience? We did a PSA from Larry David yesterday, and he said you have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to just be able to sit on your ass at home and watch some TV. And that's all you should be doing right now. Going out for the essentials and staying home. So that is the facepalm for today. Kentucky having to resort to putting ankle monitors on idiots because they won't stay home after they've already tested positive for the virus. All right. Sam Jackson did do a great PSA. Oh, a little programming note. Yesterday I talked about, I was doing like a PSA compilation. I decided that I think Fridays would be good for that. So Friday will be like a video-centric podcast, so everyone can post links to any funny videos they might see that has to do with the whole situation that we got going on right now. Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson, I guess it can be considered a PSA. I'll save it for Friday. You don't need me to explain it. I'll just play it on Friday. And don't forget, Dolly Parton's reading a book today. So in Samuel L. Jackson's, he was reading a book, and I hope that someone records Dolly Parton reading her children's book, and then Samuel L. Jackson reading the book and splicing pieces of it together. I think that would make for a really great video. So hopefully someone who's much better at video editing than myself will make that as soon as Dolly Parton does her reading tonight. Let's move on to some video games. We're on Twitch, so we gotta talk about some video games. The Final Fantasy VII Remake, scheduled to be released on April 10th. And at the start of the whole COVID-19 pandemic, people were very worried about it not releasing on time. Well, there's still that possibility to happen to some regions. It's arriving early in some places. Square Enix shipped early to vendors to ensure that copies were there for them to ship out on the release date, so they're delivered on the release date. But apparently a bunch of people in Australia are getting their copies early. And Chile is just reporting that loads of people got their copies today in the UK. So, the problem that arises from this is that people will be able to stream the game before the actual release date. But who is that a problem actually for? Is it for the person who is looking to avoid spoilers? For the most part, no. Just don't watch any channels that are streaming it. But I'm sure there will be some idiot who's going to go onto Discords and post spoilers or something like that. So be ready at any minute to stop reading a thread. Stop reading someone's post. If you see any mention to Cloud, Aerith, anything like that, just stop reading. Don't let someone spoil yourself for something like that. It can be a problem for review sites if they're obligated to wait until a certain date to release their review, but now a bunch of people that started getting it early are posting their reviews on YouTube. That takes some eyeballs off of their official review. If people have already watched someone stream the game before the actual release date, that can hurt streamers that have maybe some paid advertising content creation thing with whatever company's paying them. If there's less eyeballs on them for that stream, that's less money that they get paid. I did check out the section for Final Fantasy VII Remake last night, and there was one person in Australia streaming the new one. And I decided to look up their stats on Twitch Tracker to see if the amount of viewers they were getting was in line with what they usually get, or if it was way higher because they were the only one streaming in it, and they were way higher. So it does pay to be first if there's no one else able to be first with you. You know, a game this big, usually, unless you're already an established streamer, you're probably not going to get very many eyeballs if the biggest players in the game are streaming a new game at the same time as you. You're most likely going to be buried at the bottom of the page. So sometimes it's not even worth streaming the newest big game, but you stream what you love, so do whatever. But when you're the only one streaming it, when you're the only one streaming a new game that comes out, I can see why people are still trying to stream it, even though apparently they are cracking down on streamers who are streaming it early. But if you can, I can understand, because he was getting a lot more eyeballs than he usually did. But the biggest problem, and it's only a potential problem, would be for Square Enix. And it would only be a problem if the game sucks and people are able to cancel their pre-orders. I have a lot of faith in the game, though, so hopefully it won't turn out that way. But that's really the only massive problem I could see from some people getting this early. So I don't think we need to get too up in arms about some people getting this early. There might be a couple people streaming it early. Just don't watch any of the streams if you don't want to be spoiled. Don't go to any threads talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake, and you should be fine. Unaleska is a notable streamer who is holding off on streaming till the actual release date. And I would imagine, if people are being paid to stream as well, they're probably holding off until, whatever the contract says. You trust Square Enix too much, so you're not worried about pre-order cancellation? Yeah, I mean, as long as they have faith in the game, I don't think they are worried about it either. But you never know what some bad reviews from some prominent people can do. All right, so earlier we talked about keeping a list of good and bad companies support or not support after this. Fucking cat's freaking out. So let's see where people put this company after this story. Gearbox the developer of Borderlands 3, let some of their developers know that the $100,000 bonuses they were promised are going to be greatly reduced. The CEO claims that the game ran over budget, didn't meet the company's internal sales projections, and because Gearbox expanded its team. The developers claim this is very disheartening because Gearbox pays developers below average pay with the promise of profit sharing in the form of bonuses. And the article goes on to say, Borderlands 3 was the fastest selling title in the history of the publisher and nearly 8 million copies sold. So, Raze chimed in with not surprised. And Kookie says, Randy Pitchford, I was going to buy Borderlands 3, but not going to buy it now after I heard that Pitchford got himself a bonus. And Dickford needs to play in traffic blindfolded from Cater Pants. A lot of fuck, and Broly, what the fuck, Randy Pitchford? A lot of people not liking Randy Pitchford. And I would tend to agree on you guys. Put me on the not surprised list. And not necessarily just him, obviously him, but companies do this all the time. So this should serve as a warning for everyone in the business. If you're going to take lower pay based on the promise of a big bonus on the end of the deal, you need to get the qualifications for that bonus in writing. You can't trust a business to do the right thing. They're going to do whatever is best for their bottom line. And if that means finding a way to screw you out of your bonus, they are going to do it. This happens all the time, especially in the entertainment industry. There are always lawsuits going on about royalty fees and companies hiding profits to get out of paying them. And Gigandas says, if people generally don't know this guy, you need to watch Jim Sterling. All right, check that out. And you have not supported Borderlands in any way because of crap like that. Chili says, remember, this is the guy who got caught with porn on a work USB stick. A barely 18-year-old webcam worker who said he watched because he thought she was a magician and the stuff she did was like a magic trick. That is one of the best excuses I've ever heard. I didn't know this was porn. I thought she was a magician. The way she just made all her clothes disappear. What did she do with that cucumber? Where did it go? He's done several videos about what an absolute douchebag this guy is. All right, I need to look up some of these videos to see just how bad this guy is. I feel like this has a lot of content potential. You know what else has a lot of content potential? Tiger King. I joined the masses in watching the first episode of Tiger King. I watched the first episode last night. I guess my first thought after watching this was that all of these people in this show are freaks. Joe Exotic is the obvious one. He's the eccentric freak. His nemesis, Carol Baskin, isn't so in your face about it, but you can kind of tell she's a freak as well. There's something a little off on Carol Baskin, and I've heard some people saying some bad things about her, so I'm interested to see what the future episodes have in store for Carol Baskin as well. Then the other guy who calls himself Doc. He might be the freakiest of them all. If I was going to place a bet down on who the weirdest dude is going to be, it would be Doc. I think that dude has absolutely tried to fuck a tiger before. He's tried to fuck a cat. And just the way he talks about him, he's definitely tried to do it. And I need to do a little research about Joe Exotic's singing career, first of all. They played a couple of songs from his albums during this first episode, and after hearing him talk and then hearing the song, there is absolutely no chance in hell that idiot is singing those songs. Listen to his weird voice when he talks, then listen to the song. No fucking way. He's got a ghost singer. Um, I want to finish the show so I know what everyone is talking about, but I really do have mixed feelings about watching it. It's the same feeling of when there's a documentary or series about a serial killer, and I don't want to be a part of something that is glamorizing something like this and giving the person attention, because Joe Exotic is a bigger attention whore than like any Instagram model. And I only use them because they always get called Insta whores or whatever for their attention whoring. Joe Exotic is so much worse than any of them. He's probably sitting in his jail cell just loving all of the attention that this show is giving him. You know, he's already coming up with plans for when he finally gets out. Gator Pants says, my wife is watching it. I can't commit to it, so I just get bits and pieces. I think it's safer that way. I don't want this fully in my brain. Disco Cub says there are loads of articles about his music career. It isn't addressed on the show. Okay. Well, maybe they felt they didn't need to address it because it's so freaking obvious that there's no way he could be the one singing those songs. But I am going to look up these articles to find out exactly what is going on. I need to find the guy who's actually singing and see if he's spoken out about Joe Exotic to see what kind of, because you know, like, it's not just some guy like making up his own songs. Joe Exotic definitely had to like find a guy, give him notes, say how he wanted the music to be. So there's probably it's not just a ghost singer. It's probably like a whole ghost band. And I need to know who it is. I need to see what's going on with his music career type thing. Oh, someone already knows it. Sir Tookus. Check out the Clinton Johnson band. They did the songs. All right, you guys are pointing me in the right direction. Wild Yeti 21 says, what's your thoughts on the NFL saying they are planning to play a full season? I know it's not gaming related, but wondering what my opinion is. So I don't know the details on this, if they were going to start on time and maybe not play in front of a full stadium or something like that. So I need to know the details. I mean, I'm okay with them playing a full season, but they have to do it safely. Like, if they're like, we're going to start on this certain day no matter what, then I start to have problems. Because you have to think of your player safety too. These guys haven't been able to go to facilities and train like they were going to. If they haven't had that time, then it's unsafe for them to play. And if they're planning on letting any sort of audience in there, like, we have to be beyond this, because what's most likely going to happen with this COVID-19 thing is we're going to hit a peak soon, and then it's going to drop down, and they're probably going to say, well, we can start letting people going back to work. We're going to start opening up some more businesses, and then there's going to be a second peak, because we do not have a vaccine for this yet. Probably not. A vaccine probably isn't going to come until next year sometime. So as the cases and deaths start to drop, we're probably going to open stuff back up, but it's still not safe. People are still going to be carriers of the virus. And then once we start letting people back to work, it's going to start going up again. There's going to be a second peak. So it's all going to depend on how much we can just stay in this and let it run its course. We need to stop infecting more people, because you can infect more people if you don't have symptoms for like up to 2 weeks after you have it. So I think I like the NFL. So I really hope they are able to play a full season. But it all depends on how much we can let this thing run its course and get it out. And whenever that vaccine comes as well. I don't know. I mean, the NFL has tons of money, so I guess they can play a game without an audience in attendance. But I don't know. Do the players want to do that? I don't think the players really want to play without a stadium audience. And I'm a San Diego Charger fan. I hate the Chargers now that they live in LA or play in LA, but the Chargers would be used to not playing in front of a audience, but I don't know if any of the other teams will. So maybe the Chargers have an advantage from that since no one actually goes to their games. Burley says there's speculation that in the medical field, that COVID-19 could die down during the summer and then ramp back up in the fall. Yeah, I definitely think that is a possibility as well. I think it's a combination of that because there is some science between viruses not doing as well in warm weather. So it's going to be a combination of we are taking really good precautions right now. We're staying inside. We're socially distancing us from each other. But just look at the numbers that are coming out. New York City, or not New York City, but New York State had over 1,000 people die yesterday. And we're just stressing the healthcare system to the max. And this is with all the precautions that we're taking. When we let people start returning to work, when we start opening up restaurants again, when we start having sporting events again and concerts, it's going to spread again and it's going to peak again, even during the summer. And then again into the fall, we will not have this thing under control until there is a vaccine for it. So that's why it's really important for everyone to try to stay inside and stop spreading it. Wild Yeti says, same thing with the Browns. Yeah, fuck any team that moves away from the city that supported them for so long. And Mocha Jones says, gotta find that the Georgia government said about not... Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. The governor of Georgia said until 2 days ago, something like that, he did not know that the virus could be spread by by people that don't show symptoms. I can't say that word. Asymptomatic, there we go. By people who aren't showing symptoms. He did not know that. Even though people have talked about that for, I don't know, since the first case on like January 10th, we've known this. So, I don't know if people have heard about the boxes of liberty. First box of liberty is the soapbox. So get on your soapbox and start talking out about idiots like this. Disco Cub saying our governor is an idiot. And then once you are done with the soapbox, you can go to the ballot box and vote that idiot out of office. And if you notice any other people doing dumb shit, maybe abusing the law and stuff like that, I have heard of town councils during this time giving themselves raises because there aren't people to go to the meetings and speak out against it, and maybe other council members that would have voted against it that aren't able to make the meeting, so the few people are able to vote themselves raises, up to like 70% raises during a time like this. I have heard of this. So then you use the next box, which is the jury box, and you use whatever legal actions you can try. And then if shit gets really bad, the last box of liberty is the ammo box. So use them in that order. Okay. Wow, football question ended up with the 4 boxes of liberty. My God. Have one little miscellaneous story. Didn't know where this one fit. But due to COVID-19, Costco has decided to no longer employ contractors with club demonstration services. If you're like me, you probably have no idea what that is. But apparently, the people who give out free samples at Costco aren't actually Costco employees. They are contractors from club demonstration services. Who knew that? I didn't know that. Now I hate for anyone to lose their job. But for me, the free samples at Costco are the absolute worst part about going to Costco. The place is busy enough. I can deal with just the amount of people in there. But when there is a traffic jam of carts, because people are waiting to get their thimble full of Kashi Blueberry Crunch or whatever the fuck they're giving out, it's too much for me. I absolutely hate the free samples at Costco. Costco would be so much better without the free samples. Or better yet, so everyone can keep their job. All they need to do is just dedicate one row, like one row that they keep products on. Just make one row of the free samples so I know what part of the store to avoid. I don't want any free samples. Raze disagrees. I love people disagreeing. You're allowed to disagree. But the jams are a huge problem. You admit that. So let's just take one row of products out. And then we just put all the free samples and their products in that row. So you can get your sample. You can say, oh, I love this. Please give me a box of that. And they can hand you the box. And we just have one row of samples. And yeah, of course, no samples now. This article did go on to say that the contractors that they were using to give out these samples, they were having them clean the store instead because they wanted to keep on using them. They wanted to keep people employed by the jobs. And honestly, if you look at the people giving out samples, I have a feeling it's kind of like the Walmart greeter position. It's usually a older person, probably looking to supplement a little bit of income. So I really don't want anyone to lose their job. So let's just make that aisle of samples. They were having them wipe down everything in the store. But even Costco now, I feel like the amount of people that were prepping and buying a whole bunch of stuff all at once, I think that has dropped down because Costco has said they don't have the foot traffic that they were having. So there aren't as many people going to Costco right now. So they can't even keep those people employed cleaning down the store because they're starting to have their actual employees with not enough to do. So they're trying to keep as many of their employees employed as possible. So those employees are going to start cleaning down the store. And they had to cut ties with this contracting company for the people giving out samples. Cookie says, I can't handle the samples. Just no thanks. Just buy the item to test yourself. I agree. I don't like the sound. Like, it's fine. I just hate the traffic jams. I hate it. If I have to stop like really quickly because one more person stopped really quickly just so they can try to grab a damn sample, I'm gonna lose my mind. Yeah, it is interesting. It's fun to watch people waiting for samples, especially when that line gets like 10 carts long and you're like, what are you guys doing? It's a thimble size of Gatorade or some shit like that. You don't need that. Miyako was at Costco this morning and the number of people inside is significantly less. Well, that's good because I have I have my Costco credit card and I have like a $250 of credit from last year on there. Yeah, I just want to sample a 62-inch TV for a few years. That's all. I'll let you know what I think about it then. Costco's return policy, I think you can still return it after a couple of years. It's pretty good. Pretty good. All right. We're wrapping stuff up soon. I always like to send you off on a good story. This one comes from the BBC and is about a man and woman in their 80s who met each other 2 years ago and since then have spent almost every day together. The thing is, she lives in Denmark and he lives in Germany, and Europe has been closing their borders due to COVID-19. The border hasn't stopped them from meeting, though. Every day, they both drive to the border of their countries, and this isn't like the Tijuana border where I live, with 100,000 people crossing it. This border looks like a small one-lane road with some cinder blocks and a plastic barricade blocking it, so they're not around a ton of people while they're doing this. The only person that came by was the mayor on the town bike and took the picture that made this go viral. So they each drive to the border, pull off to the side of the road, and they each sit in their chair on their side of the border, an appropriate distance apart, and they just chat the day away. And it is about the cutest damn thing I've ever seen or heard about. Just a couple of octogenarians getting their social interaction together, keep on wanting to spend every day together. So that is the story I wanted to end on today. And that is going to be it for today. Thank you all so much for coming and participating, giving us all that social interaction that we were missing out on being stuck at home. I'm aiming to do this for the foreseeable future. Haven't had any job offers or interviews yet, So come and join me every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time to have some fun and talk about what's going on in this crazy, crazy world right now. Try to prevent yourself from going insane at home. Again, no callers today, but everyone is welcome to call in. Don't forget about that. All you have to do is join the Discord, and then you can call into the show with what you want to talk about. And tomorrow's going to be, I'm going to have some of the video PSAs. If anyone wants to submit any videos that we should watch tomorrow during the show, you can post that in the Furloughed with Vegan Pete section of the Discord. And we will have some fun watching some fun videos tomorrow, among some other stories that I'll have for you as well. So I hope you all join me tomorrow. It'll be the first video fun Friday. I haven't thought of an official name for it yet. It will be a lot of fun though. So thank you all so much for hanging out today. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day. Goodbye.